The following may contain offensive language, adult humor, and or content that some viewers may find offensive. The views and opinions expressed by any one speaker does not explicitly or necessarily reflect or represent those of Mark Radulich or W2M Network. Please listen with caution, or don't listen at all.
Hey! A triple feature, 3 films up on the screen. One's a little heavy, one's a little sleek, and one's just caught between. We'll laugh and cry and overanalyze, dig through themes with wide, wild eyes. Grab some popcorn, take your seat. 3 times the fun, 3 times the treat. Hey, a triple feature. That's what we're here to do. What we're here to do. Buckle up, the lights go down, and we'll watch them all with you.
So my son asked me, he says, Father, he calls me Father, he says, Father, what was the original theme for Triple Feature before you yet again replaced human ingenuity with AI slop? And I said, son, I called him son. I said, son, it was Hey, a Movie from the Great Muppet Caper. And he was like,
True.
why did you ever switch it from that? It was great. It did everything you needed it to do. And I said, son, let me introduce you to the fantastic, effervescent, glittering, vibrant world of copyright infringement. And I said, I'm slowly but surely going to change all the themes to AI slop, because I don't want to continue to possibly violate copyright. And so I got rid of the last one. He's like, I understand, but I still think you should go back to Hey, a Movie. And I'm like, do your own fucking podcast. I don't know what you want from me.
Tell him to become proficient in at least one musical instrument, then he can cover
There you
It's a
go.
Movie, and we can use his cover fine.
Perfect. So I did finally replace TV Party last night. It hasn't the last time you will ever hear Futurama's iteration of TV Party will be on last night's recording of White House Plumbers. So tomorrow, when Alexis and Jesse do Stranger Things season 5, they will be using the new AI slop version of TV Party.
Eventually, we're going to be replaced with it, and we all know it, and we're just kind of integrating as slowly as possible.
Well, you're the first one to say the canary in the coal mine. It was like, oh, Mark found TikTok. Mark found a way to change his podcasting, his wanting to discuss the news of the day and the world events, via the talk radio format. He found TikTok. He doesn't need any of us anymore. Like you were absolutely that scene in season 2 of The Wire where like Frank sees all the robotization on the docks, and he was just like, I just saw the future. We're all gonna get replaced with robots.
I'm just a little bit ahead of the curve in a lot of things. Not everything. I am certainly not, prophetic, but in a large way, seeing the future is not predicting the future is not complicated. It's just collating enough data.
Yeah, it has definitely brought me a lot of calm as of late as I've started to figure some things out. But that's not what we're here to discuss tonight. The one place
to
where
talk about collating data and the.
Well, I was gonna say the one place where we can't necessarily see the future is who will win the Oscar for Best Picture, who will even be nominated
At
for
this
Best
point,
Picture this year.
After the Golden Globes, I'm fairly sure it'll be one battle after another because Hollywood just wants to suck itself off.
I didn't watch the Golden Globes. Who you said that they walked W.S. Anderson and W. Anderson and One Battle After Another.
You know what? Hang on. For the sake of completionism.
While you're doing that, that's what we're talking about tonight. So the last couple of years, as we build up to the Damn You Hollywood Oscar preview, we've tried to do a couple of these triple features for potential Best Picture nominations, so that when we get to the show, we don't have to do full-on reviews.
So, for the sake of argument, let's just go through these.
Yep.
And
we're talking Bugonia, Marty Supreme, and Hamnet tonight. Go ahead.
Yeah. All of those names you will see here in one form or another. So winner for Best Motion Picture Drama went to Hamnet. Best Motion Picture Musical or Comedy went to One Battle After Another. Best
was the
Animated Motion Picture was K-Pop
I'm
Demon
sorry,
Hunters.
I missed the first one. What was the first one?
Hamnet
Oh, okay, that makes
for
sense.
drama. Best Actor in a Motion Picture Drama went to Wagner Mora. Interesting choice. They just... Oh, they categorized Marty Supreme differently. Okay, never mind.
It would be really cool if Timothy Chalamet came on live. Yes, if Timothy Chalamet shows up on our Podunk podcast, that would be pretty cool.
He does enough of them. He might.
Oh, really?
Best Female Actor in a Motion Picture Drama went to...
What are you doing here, Timothy Chalamet? A very brief cameo.
Here to talk wrestling. You seen his podcast with Cody Rhodes, by the way?
No, I have not.
It's a thing.
Okay. You were saying.
He actually is. So let me just run through these real fast.
Yeah.
So Best Actor in a Motion Picture Drama went to Wagner Mora for The Secret Agent. Best Female Actor in a Motion Picture Drama went to Jessie Buckley.
Yep.
Best Male Actor in a Motion Picture Musical or Comedy went to Timothy Chalamet.
Yep.
Best Female Actor in a Motion Picture Comedy went to Rose Byrne. Or Byrne, rather, excuse me. I mispronounce that every time. Best Supporting Actor in a Male... Best Supporting Actor Male in a Motion Picture, because they don't subdivide these, went to Stellan Skarsgård for Sentimental Value. Best Supporting Female Actor went to Tiana Taylor for One Battle After Another, in the biggest movie of that entire goddamn.
Oh my god.
Best Director went to Paul Thomas Anderson for One Battle After Another, which is ass. Best Screenplay went to Paul Thomas Anderson for One Battle After Another. See previous comment. Best Original Score went to Ludwig Göransson for Sinners. Okay. Best Cinematic Box Office Achievement went to Sinners because they weren't giving it anything else. And Best Original Song went to Golden.
Right.
We could do the television stuff if you're curious, because we can just do a little bit of news here if you're so inclined.
You want us to come back? Let's double back to it later in the show if you want. Oh wait, we're not doing.
How in the world did Ricky Gervais win? Never mind.
Let's just get on with this. All right, so
yeah, this is just going to depress me if I actually go through all of it. It's just
So tonight there's usually a bit of guessing that goes on, hence our conversation about seeing the future. What's going to get nominated for just Best Picture? That's what we focus on when we do our Damn You Hollywood preview of the Oscars. So I will usually start researching this in like November, December, and then I'll start plotting out, because between September and December is about when you're going to start seeing all the Oscar contenders start being released.
That's when the bait starts chumming the water.
Yeah. So December is always stuffed full of little indie features, smaller movies that are going to end up on the Best Picture docket. And that's when I start planning out triple features. It just happened to be this year. Two of them were movies my son wanted to see. He saw the trailer for Marty Supreme and he was like, "Can we go see that?" So I think I ended up like switching around what we were going to, and what we as a family were going to go see. Because I think I was going to take him to go see Anaconda that weekend. And
he did want to see that.
Hang on. I'll get to that later, because I saw Anaconda and Primate yesterday.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Oh, back to back, butt to butt.
Dude, Primate was so bad. Apparently, like Grace Randolph left her screening.
Yeah, it's gross. It's awful. But at the end of it, my son apologized for making me see it.
Well, that's good, at least.
Yeah. Anyway, so we ended up seeing Marty Supreme that weekend, and then we saw the trailer for some indie thing that we saw. Maybe it might have been One Battle After Another, and he saw the trailer for Hamnet, and he was like, "I really want to see that too." So on a weekend where we weren't doing Damn You Hollywood, on the following Monday, we saw Hamnet. So I had already seen these two, and then Bugonia is on Peacock, which I've liked Yorgos since I saw Poor Things and became like obsessed with his movies. He hasn't done anything as good as Poor Things since, but
I mean, he did that 2 years ago. This is one like the first thing he's done since Poor Things.
He did Kinds of Kindness last year or the year before. Yeah, it was.
Man.
It was 2024.
I'm gonna trash some of that movie when we get to it, because I don't like Yorgos Lanthimos.
That's fine. My point is, I was interested in seeing Bugonia, but I knew I was never going to get to the theater to see it. So that I saw on Peacock this weekend. And here we are. That's how we got to this triple feature. So let's talk about dear Yorgos. Bugonia is a 2025 black comedy directed by the Poor Things guy, Yorgos Lanthimos, and written by Will Tracy. It's an English language remake of a 2003 South Korean film, Save the Green Planet, by Jang Yoon Hwan. Bugonia follows two young men who kidnap a powerful CEO, suspecting that she is secretly an alien who wants to destroy Earth. This is a co-production of the UK, Ireland, South Korea, and the United States. The film stars Emma Stone, who she has like a production deal with Yorgos, so she gets to be in all of his movies. Jesse Plemons, Aidan Delbus, Stavros Halkias, and Alicia Silverstone. Alicia Silverstone was in this? The fuck part did she play?
I feel like she's one of the Andromedans at the end, but don't quote me.
She's okay. Now that's why I didn't recognize her. She's Sandy Gates, Teddy's mother.
Oh, right. The one that's always shot in.
Yeah,
weird.
So she's always in like the gurney and shit.
Yeah,
All right,
yeah.
Robert, let's just walk us through like 50 words or less. Walk us through the plot real quick.
So a couple of sad, disenfranchised gentlemen decide that the Andromedans are coming by because Jesse Plemons has done a lot of research and has gone deep down all kinds of conspiracy nonsense and is a little bit unstable. And they kidnap Emma Stone, who is a CEO, actually of the company that sort of like owns the one he works for. It's a whole thing because that's the world we're moving towards. They're convinced she's an alien, so they want her to arrange a meeting between them and the Emperor of the Andromedans to get them to leave Earth alone. She's like, I'm a person, just a human. What's wrong with you? And Jesse Plemons goes, you want me to believe you're 45? Right. Like, you're not even trying to hide it. He eventually comes to believe that she is, in fact, the Emperor after he electrocutes the crap out of her, but she doesn't die. There's a sheriff's deputy who shows up every now and then, who it turns out groomed and abused Jesse Plemons as a child because reasons.
Because besides baseball, that's America's favorite pastime, abusing children.
To the extent that baseball isn't abuse, I suppose.
That's your takeaway?
That is my takeaway from that, yes.
Moving on.
So there's a few things that happen. Again, it's all kind of very self-contained. Then his cousin, who is mentally handicapped, commits suicide. Jesse Plemons beats that sheriff's deputy to death with a shovel.
After exposing him to the bees! The bees!
Please don't.
Bees! One more time.
Mark, I've seen that movie. The whole thing. Please stop.
One more time. Covered in bees! Now I'm good.
You just had to reference another truly terrible movie that throws
I was
that in there.
referencing Eddie Izzard.
Okay.
How do you like your coffee? Covered in bees.
Anyway, Emma Stone then tells Jesse Plemons, so your theory about us was sort of right, but not really. See, we showed up, the Andromedans, and we're kind of the reason that the dinosaurs died out. We were very, very guilty about that, so we created humans in our own image, and everything was great. Atlantis was there. It was a whole great thing. But then, you have to understand, some small subset of humanity was genetically imperfect, had aspirations and violence. So they started breeding more violence and more aspirations, and eventually the nukes went off. And we were all very depressed about this, but some of the only surviving members of your species were the ones inclined towards violence. And we've been trying to fix your genetic structure ever since, but it just hasn't been working out. And we're not quite sure what we're going to do with you people. And this makes poor Jesse Plemons very sad. And she's like, and you come back with me to my office. The teleporter to get on our spaceship when it comes by is in my closet. And he goes, okay. So he shows up and he's like, "Oh, but I've got a suicide vest, homemade, don't you know?" And this is just to make sure that nothing goes really sideways. So he goes into the closet and the vest goes off, and his decapitated head flies through the opening door and headbutts Emma Stone the way we've all fantasized about. Just renders her partially unconscious. She gets put into an ambulance, and she's being taken to the hospital, and she wakes up in the ambulance and goes, "Oh, the guy that did that to me, he's dead, right?" And they all go, "Yeah." So she goes, "Thanks." Shoves aside the paramedics, jumps out of the back of the ambulance, runs back into her office, goes into the closet, teleports up to the Andromedan ship.
Despite having a busted knee, by the way.
A dislocated kneecap at a minimum. A temporary dislocation of the patellar tendon, as Gorilla Monsoon would say. And it turns out that she is, in fact, the Emperor of the Andromedans, and her story to Jesse Plemons was true. And all the Andromedans get together in their big, comfy, wool knit suits and go, "This isn't working." And she goes, "Yeah, I know." She gets a thing and she pops a bubble that's on a display that's over the Earth, and all the people on the Earth simultaneously drop dead. And the world becomes a better place because humans aren't on it.
It's fine. Like, I'm tired. I'm tired. I'm so tired. I'm tired of the notion. And I'm referencing something very specific here. So the new Echo Chamberlain dropped today. If you don't know who Echo Chamberlain, I can't talk. If you don't know who Echo Chamberlain is, he's a YouTuber, video essayist, Substacker, bright guy, novelist. I like him because he's super intelligent. He's got a way with words. I ran into him on one of the Critical Drinkers podcast shows, and he was about the only one on there that I didn't want to stuff in a locker. So and then his series on the women are a little strange, referencing their need for romance literature that involves banging inanimate objects, made me laugh really hard. So I kept
the number of, "Hey, why not with the Yeti?"
right.
Or the
Boy,
Minotaurs.
yes.
Or
If you want to, but apparently women want to sleep with Sasquatches, tentacled monsters, pumpkin spice lattes, pillows, and doors. These are all real books.
yes, they are. God help us.
So anyway, so he did like a series of essays about that, videos, which made me laugh out loud, and I had to send it to my ex-wife, my daughter. I played it on the mountains. I broadcasted it everywhere. So I've been listening to his videos ever since. And today he did like entertainment is in crisis, and the whole thing was about how everywhere you look, all the IPs are terrible, all the movies are terrible, all the TV shows are terrible, and this what he was getting at in the essay was the pipeline to create competent creative people has been clogged up and dead for a while now, which was the only value of what he was saying. The other side of it, of there's nowhere to find decent media, I'm getting a little tired of, because everyone says the same thing. Nothing is good anymore. No. The children's garbage you like isn't good anymore. The stuff of the big guns aren't good. There's plenty of good stuff out there. And and I guess like his answer to that would be yes, but I don't want to do the independent films. I don't want to do the Bugonias, the Marty Supremes, or the Hamnets. I want Star Wars to be good. I want Star Trek to be good. Okay, well, it's not going to be too late. That world is gone. However,
and we are worse for it, by the way.
But having said that, Bugonia is good.
Yeah.
Do I think it deserves a Best Picture nomination? No. Do I mean, maybe for like best costumes, the Andromedan costumes are fun to look at. They're a little interesting. No. Emma Stone's a good actress. Jesse Plemons a good actor. If they got nominated for acting awards, I would not, be upset about it. But this is a fine story. I think it deals well with I think interrogating paranoia. I think it plays around with a lot of like modern the modern wrestling of is this real or is this mythology? Is this propaganda? Do we ever really know what's real anymore? Um, I think interrogating sort of mental health versus living outside the mainstream, I thought was an interesting take.
If only it had actually interrogated it.
Well, and that's the thing. Yeah, and here I'm gonna crib liberally from the Red Letter Media review of Bugonia, where they basically were like, this would have been better if they had left it ambiguous. The fact that they make the whole last 10 minutes of this movie is Jesse Plemons was right all along, and Emma Stone was pulling the wool over his eyes, and she really was an alien, and they really are out to get us. I'm like, oh, kind of cheapens the movie experience, don't you think? But that's the movie that. But again, they're also adapting a previous piece of art here. They're adapting a Korean
The
film.
problem with changing that is you can't maintain the anti-humanist stance that exists at the core of this, which is, wouldn't the whole planet be better off without people? And
Right, which is a child's point of view.
it is, but that's the point of view that everyone's pointing at and screaming because all the narcissistic atheists are starting to realize that their lives are going to end terribly and they've left nothing behind, so no one should leave anything behind and everyone should die with them because destructive narcissism.
So in terms of structure, pacing, acting, I think this is all pretty tough, pretty good, better than average. Storyline in and of itself, there isn't much of a story here. It's a two it's a play. It's a play where you don't know what's real and what isn't anymore. And both Jesse Plemons and Emma Stone do an equally good job of convincing you their side is the side of truth. And then it gets ruined by the last 10 minutes where you know that for damn well she had been a lying sack of shit all along. That's it. That's why, this is one of those where I'm glad we did this as a triple feature because I would not have been able to do a full Damn You Hollywood on Bugonia.
Yeah,
I don't have enough to say about it. And it's funny because the whole time I was like, Rob's like, oh, he's really gonna like Bugonia. He's really gonna like Bugonia. And I was, to the point where
I was being sarcastic about that because you still gush about Poor Things at the drop of a hat.
Yeah, I still think Poor Things is excellent, but this isn't even this isn't as good as Poor Things. But even if you're just like Mark likes the weird, this isn't as weird as Poor Things either.
No,
it's pretty standard stuff here
for the most part.
This could have been this. You shave about a half an hour off of this,
Which you could do pretty easily.
Yeah, and kind of reduce the scope slightly. This is someone's college, student film. Like we could have made this movie if we lost a few scenes, and and shrunk it a bit in scope. So your thoughts, besides what you've already said?
Yeah, I didn't care for this. Like I said, I don't care for most of what Yorgos Lanthimos does. I accept that what he does appeals to a certain kind of movie enjoyer, and I'm not here to shame anyone for enjoying what he does. But I haven't liked anything he's done since Dogtooth, and that's his first film. I
really hated The Lobster.
Of course you did. If that hasn't been made abundantly clear by the number of derogatory, that has become like a go-to derogatory reference for the entire network.
I hated The Lobster. I did not care for The Godfather.
Yeah, that kind of thing. So this one, I think it bothered me mostly because I would rather have had something that seriously interrogated the intersection of conspiracy and mental illness.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't really get that. There's not enough tension. There's a bit near the end where it's revealed that Jesse Plemons has killed a lot of people. But revealing that he's right about the overall Andromedan thing somewhat leaves the door open to, well, okay, how many of those were people? How many of those were aliens? You wind up in this weird spot where it's unambiguous in the frustrating way rather than the interesting way.
Yeah, I think it would have been better had it just ended with her in the ambulance and then it's ambiguous. You don't know if, I didn't actually catch that the vest went off. I thought it was booby trapped, but it didn't matter. He was dead.
No, the vest goes off. They actually talk about it in the ambulance very briefly. It's an accident. If you don't know what you're doing, here's a public service announcement here. If you're not actually really good at handling and manufacturing explosive devices, you're going to do it wrong. and then something like ambient body temperature over a long enough period of time will set it off. Like, there's a lot that goes wrong there.
Either way, I think ending it with her in the ambulance and her kind of, like, oh, and then you don't know if
I
she
would have
got away with anything or not.
I would have ended it with her jumping out of the ambulance.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's kind of where I would have cut, like, and kind of leave it there again. But again,
Yeah.
that's me. So the lack of, again, proper look, again, the intersection of, like, again, mental health and genuine paranoia and conspiracy is always an interesting one to me, because there's a comedian who does this bit, and I hate referencing comedians for like legitimate policy discussions, but the point being made here is relevant. Guy's doing some audience work, and he goes, "Oh, so you don't?" And he's saying, like, "So what's everyone's favorite conspiracy theory?" Because, again, he's doing audience work.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody goes, "I don't believe in any of them," and he goes, "Really? You don't believe in any conspiracy theories?" It's a strong stance to take, thinking the government's being completely honest and batting 1,000. Like, governments are responsible for a whole lot of people, all of their citizens. I'm only responsible for one child after I became a father, and I lie to him all the time. You think the government's not? Again, it's a joke. It's for comedic effect, but it does bring up the underlying point that, like, Charles Manson was in fact a subject in the MK Ultra experiments. Let that one kick around the back of your head for a little bit. There's a few other, like, just stuff that is shady.
Did you happen to watch our review of White House Plumbers last night?
I did not.
The stuff that that was even considered that G. Gordon Liddy and Howard Hunt were trying to do to the Democrats, to your point.
Yeah, there's so many of these things. Just so many. I mean, for crying out loud, Woodrow Wilson, I mean, we joke about Joe Biden for good reason. Woodrow Wilson literally had a stroke and was, like, partially vegetative for a chunk of his second term in office. And nobody knew. Like, we concealed this from the voting public and the people who might actually matter.
I was going to say FDR, and I think his fourth term was completely confined to the chair.
Yeah.
He just worked around it.
And everyone kind of went along with it. And again, there's the point being, when you actually, like, look into some of the shady stuff that any government does, let's be very clear, like, we talk about the American government because we're Americans.
Yeah.
But every government has done, especially when you've been in power for when it's been instantiated for a long time. Like, dude, the British, ooh boy, there's some shady stuff in the British archives.
So your thoughts on Bugonia?
But intersecting that with
Robert's internet occasionally bombs out. Hey, a triple feature. Well, it's a minute and 57 seconds left of the first half between the Steelers and the Texans. And the Steelers just kicked another field goal, making it 7-6. My parlay is in serious danger here. I've got Woody Marks under 56 rushing yards.
Okay.
There we go.
I'm back. Sorry about that.
I was doing football talk while you were waiting.
That's okay. A chunk of our audience will appreciate that break. So point being, like, the intersection of what it means to have, like, some kind of borderline mental illness, and then, the kinds of people who are prone to finding conspiracies.
Yeah.
That's actually, again, somewhat interesting to me, but none of that was actually, like, explored here in any sort of meaningful capacity. It became a bit of a way to just kind of, like, indict, again, like, the disenfranchised white men, especially, like, younger white men, and then follow that up with, but by the way, they were right.
Yeah.
And people are...
Yorgos seemed very confused on this one.
He's Greek. I think confusion is just his natural state of being.
It's fair.
If you were even, like, remotely interested in this one, my advice would be watch the original, because it's a little bit clearer overall. So anyway, Bugonia, it exists. It'll get some prestige to the extent that there's a cadre of the voting parties that just really like what Yorgos Lanthimos does. Same way there's a cadre that just really like Paul Thomas Anderson, despite how terrible some of his stuff is.
All right, let's move on to Marty Supreme. My son said this was the best movie he's ever seen. It was my number
Your
one.
son needs help.
Shut up. Marty Supreme is a 2025 American sports comedy drama film directed by Josh Safdie. If you don't know who Josh Safdie is, well, you should. He is the director of The Pleasure of Being Robbed, Daddy Longlegs, Lenny Cook, Heaven Knows What, Good Time, Uncut Gems, which you may have actually seen.
Yeah, we finally got to something.
So that's Josh Safdie. He's also worked on some television. He was the director and producer for the Adam Sandler Love You Netflix comedy special. So that's what this guy does. It was written by Ronald Bronstein and produced by Safdie and Timothy Chalamet. It stars Chalamet with Gwyneth Paltrow coming out of retirement, Odessa Azion, Kevin O'Leary, Tyler O'Connor, Abel Ferreira, and Fran Drescher in supporting roles. Darius Kanji shot the film on 35mm. Safdie's regular collaborator Daniel Lopatin composed the score. It's loosely based on American table tennis player Marty Reichman. I actually looked into this a little bit. The reason why it's loosely is because the guy's life is not nearly as interesting as what they did with Marty, nor was there a clean narrative arc, so they had to embellish to the point where they use the original guy, Marty Reichman, as inspiration, but this is not his story. It was named one of the top 10 films of 2025 by the National Board of Review and the American Film Institute at the 83rd Golden Globe Awards. The film was nominated for 3 awards: Best Motion Picture, Musical, or Comedy, Best Screenplay for Safdie and Bronstein. It was nominated for 3 awards at the 32nd Actor Award for including Outstanding Performance by a Cast in a Motion Picture. Chalamet's performance earned him a Golden Globe Award and a Critics' Choice Award. It was budgeted at $70 million at the time of this recording. For what it ran in theaters, it made $79.1 million. All right, Skippy.
So in the early 50s, we meet Marty Mauser, who is a shoe salesman, much like the great Al Bundy. In New York, but he doesn't really like the job. He'd rather play ping pong because he's actually good at table tennis. And this is a sporting event that is starting to gain a little bit of traction in the world. It's especially popular in England. It's becoming a bigger deal in Japan and some of the other, East Asian countries. And he's pretty good, but being pretty good at a sport that there's no money in kind of sucks. So he's got this job and he's trying to, and he is a giant bag of dicks is kind of the big takeaway for a lot of the subtext to a lot of what's about to describe.
Remember our conversation about Jay Kelly? This is the 50s version of Jay Kelly without nearly the moral compass.
So he knocks up a girl. He absconds to a table tennis tournament in England, the British Open, where he comes in second to a Japanese gentleman, and he's very upset by this. He also he winds up sleeping with Gwyneth Paltrow, who's married to Kevin O'Leary, who's a generic rich guy, both in real life and in this movie.
He plays the icon on the Monopoly box.
Pretty much. And around there, so he's annoyed that he lost because, like all hyper-competitive, pathologically competitive people, losing is the worst thing imaginable. And he's looking to get into the World Championships, but along the way, he has sort of defrauded the actual International Table Tennis Association, the governing body for it. And he gets an offer from one of the former best guys in the world to come with him and do the clown show, which is we'll do some ping pong during the halftime of the Harlem Globetrotters. So we will get money, we will have a steady income, and we can show off bizarre ping pong skills without the crippling pressure and anxiety of actual competition. To anyone about to retire, this is as good as it gets. If you're a competitive younger man like Marty, this is soul crushing.
So Robert's frozen again. If I remember correctly, it's been a minute since I've seen the movie. That's why Robert does the plot synopsis. Also, he saw it this weekend. Um, this all leads to there's a bit where Marty is trying to scrape together money so that he can go to Japan, so that he can continue to be in this giant ping pong tournament. Um, the dog ends up getting away from him or getting killed or whatever. So there's a whole thing where they have to like defraud criminals. And he drags a pregnant woman along to do this. Eventually, he begs and pleads and cajoles Gwyneth Paltrow's husband. Gwyneth Paltrow's husband proceeds to impact play with him, and beats his ass with a paddle and humiliates him. Yeah, internet's having fun tonight, eh?
Google Fiber, all we asked was you be better than Comcast, which screwed me constantly.
All right, so I got to getting smacked in the ass with a ping pong paddle.
Yeah, he agrees to a humiliation ritual after a comedy of errors with a mobster's dog while hiding out in.
I explained all that.
He gets to Japan. He has the exhibition, which he loses, which he then complains loudly. See, this is he then pulls a Vince McMahon.
Well,
he says
before he decides to say, this is all a sham, it's lies. He is basically told, you're not going to England. You're never going to go to England. No one takes you seriously. You have fucked too many people. These are the consequences of the actions and the life that you have lived. You are an untrustworthy person, and we were leaving you in Japan. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
So with nothing left to lose, he goes back in there and decides, I'm not participating any longer in the sham.
He does a Muhammad Ali, where he reveals that his fight with Antonio Inoki is supposed to be a work, which leads to Antonio Inoki shooting on him and kicking him in the legs for 40 minutes. And that fight, that whole thing is just its own thing. So he reveals that I would like to have a legitimate match with you, sir, because you're the best. And if I beat you, then I'm the best. And then I can move on with my life, having learned nothing, but having achieved a sense of personal satisfaction. And the Japanese gentleman goes, okay, we can play. So they have a really good match. Marty wins by a hair, breaks down because he has achieved being the best. And there's nothing left.
He leaned against the rock, and so there were no more worlds left to conquer.
And he returns home to where his, not wife, but girlfriend has given birth.
His baby mama.
He goes to see the progeny, the fruit of his loins, in the hospital, and he breaks down in tears looking at this baby as the baby opens its eyes, looks at him, and stops crying and kind of smiles.
Yep. I liked Marty Supreme. It was my number 1 movie of the year. I really enjoy it. It is the best made and the most enjoyed, in my opinion, such as it is. The acting, this is one of those. I said this on the year in review. This is a situation where everybody in the cast gives a great performance. Normally, there's like one guy that gives a great performance, and then everyone's like a deep second or third. Everybody, this is a murderer's row of Grand Slam hitters. Every performance in this is spot on. I said of Hamnet, when Jessie Buckley gets to the Globe Theater, she is behaving in a way that is accurate for that period of time, for that kind of person in that situation. But that's just Jessie Buckley. And Marty Supreme, everyone's doing it. Like, I saw Hamnet first. So when I saw Jessie Buckley give the performance, I'm like, oh my God, no one's going to be better than her. Then I saw Marty Supreme and saw everyone do it. Every single person in this is acting in the time period they're making the movie in. It's great. I said this, and I'll bear this out a little bit more. You are not supposed to take from this movie that Marty is an aspirational figure. Marty goes on a journey. Marty burns everybody he comes in contact with, and then he gets to the live stream, and he realizes, I've done a bad thing. I should not have done this. I'm going to try to be better. And he looks at the baby, and that is the whole point of him looking at the baby, and the baby stops crying. He's like, okay, there are bigger things in life, and there are bigger things than on heaven and earth ratio than my single aspiration to be the best ping pong player in the world. And so I'm going to try to be a better person. That is the subtext of him looking at the baby, which is a nice journey for this asshole to go on. Set design looks great. The actual ping pong was a lot of fun to watch. I just think the movie is brilliant. I think as I look back, and I've been doing this a lot in the past 6 months to a year, as I look back on the boys who came home and the women who received them, the world that was created by the Greatest Generation and then subsequently by the Boomers, I guess I like the fact that now we're looking back at that time period a little less with rose-covered nostalgia glasses and a little more realistically. These were I don't want to say that they're called the Greatest Generation because they went across the world and and did something that most people will never do in their lifetime, if ever.
To be fair, there's this meme gets brought along all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But like, can you imagine a contemporary 18-year-old storming the beaches?
No, they wouldn't even get on the boat. And Robert is frozen again. That's what I'm saying. Like, you could not ask Gen Alpha or Gen Z to do what the boys did in Normandy or on the islands of Japan. So I say this with reverence, but with the knowledge that these, as great as these people were, the Greatest Generation, earning that name with aplomb, they were also problematic people. There was a lot of trauma. There was a lot of substance abuse. There was a lot of physical abuse, sexual abuse. There was a lot going on. It's funny because because man's inhumanity to man in that time period is so bad, we tend to overlook the little man's inhumanity to man. And that's what Marty Supreme talks about, is the little indignities, the smaller inhumane way in which we treat each other, the bodies crawling over each other in small form to get out of the pit. Marty Supreme takes crabs in a bucket and makes it almost a 3-hour movie. But he's focusing on the everyday people, not those in power. In fact, very much those disempowered by everything that life was back then, which is what I liked about it. I think it's a great story. I think, again, you're not supposed to take away from this that we should all be Marty Supreme. You're supposed to take away from this that you should not be indecent to people. It's not worth it to get, you went into a big rant about, if you don't like, if Hollywood's looking at itself in the mirror and you don't like what you see, you can change it. You've always had the power to change it. You could go home at any time, Dorothy. You just chose not to. I think what Marty Supreme is trying to tell people is single-minded pursuit of success, wealth, and fame to the exclusion of all else is not healthy. It never ends well. You may be rich, you may be successful, but it doesn't end well for anyone else, and probably not yourself. You're probably, should the extent that heaven and hell is real, you're going to go to hell for it, and it's not really worth it. Your thoughts on Marty Supreme before you lose the internet again?
It's a little spot. I think we finally reached out to Google because we have Google Fiber here now, and we're trying to figure out what's going on with this because it's deeply annoying.
Yeah.
I was trying to figure out why. I know why you liked this movie. I don't mean that negatively. After you listening to you talk about it and then seeing it, I get it. Since watching it earlier today, I've been trying to figure out why my reaction to it was so non-existent. I appreciate the technical acumen. You're right that this is written period appropriate. Everyone acts period appropriate, and God bless every one of them for it, because very little of the contemporary language or sensibilities are transposed into, again, the early 50s. It's very much what it's supposed to be in that respect, and I appreciate that deeply. But again, I'm trying to figure out why did I not connect with this movie at all? And bear in mind, I mean at all. And so I've been trying to puzzle that over. And ultimately, I think my conclusion is, for me, this is kind of just Anora again, but
Okay.
30 minutes longer.
And less prostitution.
Well, there was that whole middle segment. Which is just kind of to say the following. I appreciate the realism. I really do. That is a lost art, and I mean that. That is a dying art form to make a period accurate piece in modern Hollywood. I've also kind of I am not at all interested in another collection of crappy people yelling at each other for 3 hours.
Once again, it's the TNA backstage interview writ large.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Like, I've seen this movie before.
For those that
And
don't know, TNA had a frequent, and I don't know why TNA did this, and it was only TNA doing it, but they would have 20 wrestlers all backstage, and one guy being interviewed, and they're all talking over the guy being interviewed, and everyone's walking in and out of frame. It was the oddest thing.
yeah, it really was. And that as a thing is just very, very off-putting to me, even when everything about it is really good. So there's that. This movie also lost me around the time we're hiding out with the mobster's dog and going to confront the farmer that took it in. Like, what are we doing here? Where is the restraint? Where is the self? Where's the editing? Like, where's any of this stuff that would have made this thing that turned into a slog by the end a bit more streamlined and a bit more cohesive? And that's
I mean, I think it's meant to show that the best laid intentions, um, was it the best intentions of mice and men often go astray. Like there were a
best laid
series of
plans.
best
but-
laid plans. What's it about decisions and then which leads you to hell? There's another phrase that I was mixing
the
the two.
road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Yeah, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. That's actually not what I was thinking of, but that's also a good one. My point is that I think a lot of what they're saying in this is Marty makes a lot of decisions that seem either well-meaning or appropriate or even logical in the moment.
No,
But
they
you
don't.
have, but you have no idea how that's gonna, the butterfly effect of how that's gonna play out in any number of ways. So, like the bit with the dog in the beginning takes him on this whole other like side quest that he never intended to go on, and it just like goes on and on and on. But he still has to get back to ping pong at some point. I didn't like. I see what you're saying, but I didn't mind it. This is not the sidecar chase in fucking Sonic 2.
It's not that bad, but it's closer to that than you'd like in a really, really good movie.
Okay, go on.
So that I got a problem with. Again, Timothy Chalamet's acting is good. I think my biggest problem with this movie is I understand that I understand the character growth. I understand the character takes a while to grow and go on the journey. He does a lot of the same stuff. And that just gets repetitive and tiring to watch. I
don't disagree with you from a narrative and dramatic sense, but I also remember the way Oz ended, where this isn't going to be conclusive or in any kind of way because the point is that life just goes on in prison. And I feel like that was a lot of what Josh Safdie was trying to say about Marty is that, yes, we all theoretically go through, narrative arcs. We all grow, we all evolve to one degree or another, but life goes on regardless. There is no we reach the hero's end and then it's all over. Life continues.
Yeah, and I'm fine with that. I'm fine with the overall like theming. I'm fine with the ending. That doesn't bother me at all. It's just you're expecting me to watch 3 hours of this guy defrauding people in uninteresting ways
So your
over and
problem
over and
is that
over
your
again.
lead character is not aspirational.
No. My problem is my lead character does the same thing for 3/4 of the movie. Finally gets hit over the head with repercussions and has the maturing moment. I need stuff like there's no actual character arc for too long to keep me
I was
engaged.
gonna say it's a character's fucking what is it, the roller coaster where it's like you go up, and it just drops straight down.
Yeah, like there's
Let
a
me ask you a question.
similar.
Let me ask you a question
Okay.
to help you kind of frame your review. Not that you're doing a bad job on your own, but I think you can do a better job. So, I want you to compare your experience watching Marty Supreme to The Brutalist, because I think in terms of structure, length of the movie, what you're asked of by the movie maker to sit through with The Brutalist is very similar to Marty Supreme,
In a lot of ways, yes.
because you weren't this hard on The Brutalist.
There's a couple of things that I think the Brutalist did better. If we're just talking about like what's being asked of us to sit through. Um, Adrian Brody's character in The Brutalist, whose name escapes me, he's not doing the same thing for 3/4 of the movie. He is constantly going through ups and downs, highs and lows, some learning, some not, some alcoholism, some not, some drug use, some not, some dealing with the aftermath of being raped while you're half conscious. Like there's a lot of mini narratives and a lot of motion to the characterization and the character arc throughout the course of that film. There's really not that with Marty.
Okay.
And even in something else that's very, very character driven, like There Will Be Blood. There Will Be Blood at least has several throughout the course of the movie smaller goals for Daniel Plainview to achieve and several mini conflicts for him to resolve that all escalate over the course of the film in a believable and followable way. This one, I've got to make it to the tournament. Okay, so I'm going to literally rob my employer at gunpoint. Then, okay, I made it to the tournament and I can't go back home because charges will be waiting for me. So I got to do well. And if I win, then I'll get all this prize money. Well, some prize money. And then he loses. And then he goes through Egypt and he goes like, again, on this little bit of a world tour. And he winds up back home where charges are in fact waiting for him. And then there's a mob boss. And then there's a dog. And then there's hiding out with his friend. And then all this culminates in, boy, I've really got to get to Japan because there I can resurrect my ping pong career and find meaning in life. And we play too much with the weird comedy of errors that doesn't seem all that funny to me through the middle of this. And that causes a big disconnect with me personally because I'm not engaged enough with what's going on with Marty to care all that much. And I'm not.
I would tell you that because I saw the TikTok fallout on this. A lot of people really wanted him to win. A lot of it's really funny because of influence.
I'd rather he lose again.
Yeah, but like you have high moral standards for people, and everybody else is trying to be an influencer on TikTok. So a lot of people watch this movie, and that's the narrative on TikTok was people who actually viewed Marty as aspirational. I think what you're missing because you're you and you're my dad, not physically, but like you and my dad think very similar.
I got you.
No, for the audience sake, it was like he's what now? Is that why he does this? You and my dad, and you're better at this than my dad is by virtue of having done this with me for so long, or you're just growing as a human boy, or whatever the situation is. But my dad has a tendency to have a very myopic view of things that are based entirely on how he feels about it. You used to be that way. You've gotten better. But I will tell you, like I said, I watched both sides talk about this. There was the you're not supposed to look up to Marty side, and then there's the side that was looking up to Marty. They want him to win. They don't see what he's doing as bad. They're the thing of it is that you see a bad guy making bad decisions and being, and you're like, why do I need to keep watching this? Like it's just kind of like one of these things should be the end of him, and I should be allowed out of this movie. I don't want to be a hostage to this anymore. Everybody else that watches this movie sees Marty, sees what's everything that's happening to him, and it's like a harrowing escape. Like, oh no, he narrowly escapes this danger, and he narrowly escapes that danger.
Mark, I'm not saying you're. I believe you.
Mm-hmm. I love the fact that that's where his fucking internet paused him. He cut me off so I can finish my point, and I'll just stop if he ever comes back. But a lot of people who watched Marty Supreme wanted him to win. It's just very telling of the the mainstream population out there. But there were absolutely people who they are with him for the length and breadth of this movie because they want to see him. They want to see him beat the odds. They want to see him win. They want to see him get over on the rich people, the powerful. They want to see him get over on the anti-Semites. They want to see him get over on anyone that's holding him back. They want to see him win. That's the whole thing. That's why Josh Safdie could get away with this really, really long movie about this kid who isn't a great person because everybody else is kind of self-identifying with Marty in a way that's like, I wish I could be that driven. And so we're rooting for you, Marty. That's why the other half of the people on TikTok going, no, stupid. Don't root for him. He's not good. This is not, But I think that's why it's giving you trouble because you're like, this should have ended a while ago. Why do I have to sit through 3 hours of this? Go ahead.
Look, the people who view Marty as aspirational are the same morons who look at the first 2/3 of Anora and went, this is a great love story for the modern audience.
Yeah.
It is so wildly disconnected from reality, human interaction, to say nothing of ethics and morality. Marty is, to the extent that Marty is a cautionary tale about the dangers of obsessive, again, like pathological competitiveness.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not good and it will destroy the vast majority of things around you, even if you are hyper successful. And Marty isn't. Here's the other thing about this. He's chosen a niche activity with no money in it. And at least Michael Jordan has, more money than God. But look at what he torched in terms of relationships with himself, with his family and his teammates and everything else.
Or an even better one, Tiger Woods.
Yeah. Like, there's so many people who, I mean, for crying out loud, at this point, if you were to make a Bret Hart documentary, adaptation, everyone would be like, boy, poor Bret Hart, all the times he cheated on his wives. He was just driven to be the best.
Yeah. All right. Wrap it up.
So, again, this is overlong, which is my big criticism of it, especially the stuff in the middle. Like, it loses all steam.
I will say this. My one negative about this is I did find myself asking, are we ever getting back to ping pong?
Or at least have your character do something interesting. Because his obsession with ping pong makes you always go, when are we getting back to that? While the middle hour of this movie has nothing to do with it. It's just him bumbling around.
Can we be done with the dog already?
Yes. When we think we're done. And then, hey, how much is that doggy in the window? The one with the waggly tail. Let me go harass this farmer. And then get shot at. Just,
all right. Are we ready to move on?
Yeah. Again, I understand the praise around this movie, and I understand a great deal of it. The acting is universally good, top to bottom. Nobody gives a bad performance here. So there's a lot really good here. I don't think they had enough drama, narrative, or material for this thing to be as long as it is. And that lack of restraint is becoming a real problem all the way around in filmmaking.
All right. Our last movie is Hamnet. Hamnet is a 2025 British biographical period film directed by Chloe Zhao, hot off her big success, The Eternals, who
Let's
co-wrote,
not.
who co-wrote the screenplay with Maggie O'Farrell. Based on the 2020 novel by O'Farrell, the film dramatizes the family life of William Shakespeare and his wife Agnes Hathaway as they cope with the death of their 11-year-old son Hamnet. It stars Jessie Buckley and Paul Mescal as Agnes and William, alongside Emily Watson and Joe Alwyn in supporting roles. This had a budget of $35 million. It made 17. Hamnet premiered at the 52nd Telluride Film Festival on August 29, 2025. Received a limited theatrical release by Focus Feature in the United States and Canada on November 26th. It had a worldwide theatrical release on December 5th and was released by Universal Pictures in the UK January 9th, 2026. The film received critical acclaim with performances by Buckley and Mescal receiving particular praise. It was listed among the top 10 films of 2025 by the American Film Institute. The film won Best Motion Picture Drama, Best Actress in a Motion Picture Drama for Buckley at the 83rd Golden Globe Awards. Buckley additionally won the Critics' Choice Award for Best Actress. My ongoing joke with this was it's as if somebody heard or somebody saw the joke on American Dad in the James Bond parody episode where Tearjerker makes the saddest film ever where everyone cries themselves to death, and Chloe Zhao went, "Here, hold my beer."
Yeah, you made that reference, and then I saw the movie and went,
Well, I can't help that you're a robot with no soul.
no, hang on, no. This is far from the saddest movie ever, Mark.
I thought it was quite sad. But
I didn't say it wasn't sad. I said it's not that.
But here's the thing. It's not like Schindler's fucking List sad, where it's like sad throughout. You know, it's just like one devastating thing happen, after another. It definitely builds up to it. And when it hits hard. And then when it finally like zeniths at the end, when we finally get to the Globe Theater and you get to see Jessie Buckley reacting to the dramatization of the death of her child, and you're seeing how she's reacting, how Shakespeare is reacting, how they're seeing each other react. That's the part that's like, oh my God, this is like over the top sad. At least it was for me, and it was for my daughter, and it was for other people who've seen the movie. So, all right, that's my introduction to this thing. Like, this is a movie that I think definitely deserves a Best Picture nominee. Whether or not it deserves, whether or not it deserves to win, I couldn't tell you for sure. But I would not be sad if it did.
It would get my vote, I think.
Yeah.
As a general rule, like if I could only vote for one, it's a toss-up kind of between this and Frankenstein. If we're looking at like what I think will get nominated,
Yeah. All right. So 50 words or less. What happens in Hamnet?
Yeah, we see young William Shakespeare. He falls in love with the Witch of the Forest. He struggles with his dad because his dad is a leather worker and he hates his son for being a shiftless layabout who wants to write.
But father, I want a dad. Not here, you won't.
It's not quite that bad, but it's close. He knocks up Agnes, like you do. They sort of get married. Again, sort of. They have their oldest child and then twins, Judith and Hamnet, and poor Billy Shakespeare, just struggling, trying to make things work. And his wife, his perfect understanding wife, goes, "The small town is killing you. Go to London. Be with your people, the fellow theater nerds." So he goes, and he achieves a level of success. And he comes back and he buys the biggest house in the province for his family. And kind of, again, goes a little bit back and forth. Spends some time with his kids because he's a good father. And the balance of having to provide versus having to be there physically and emotionally is the struggle every father goes through.
Yep.
But it's, this time period, so the plague comes through, like it does. And Judith gets sick. And they're trying to save Judith, and poor little Hamnet says, "Take me instead." And the Faustian bargain is struck. Judith recovers, Hamnet gets sick, and Hamnet dies. And Paul Mescal comes back after his son is dead, and he's devastated, and his wife's devastated, and their marriage starts to strain. And torn apart, he abandons the comedy he's working on, and he writes The Tragedy of Hamlet. And Jessie Buckley, so Agnes and her brother go to the Globe Theater because they're invited to the first production of it. And while there, she finally sees this is how he's been processing his grief. There's a scene where William Shakespeare plays the ghost of old Hamlet, so he gets to say goodbye to his son, basically. And we see the whole play, and it ends with the death of Hamlet, and she finally is able to process some of her grief. They sort of, again, understand each other's grieving a little bit better. She finally gets to see her son, a shade of her son, walk into the woods to live deliberately. And that's the conclusion. And that sounds a little glib. Believe me, it's exceptionally well done. So
Yeah, I really just want to. Robert's contesting my description of the movie as like one of the saddest ever. It's not easy to watch kids die on screen. It's even harder to watch a parent grieve their child. I think the difference once again between me and you is lived life experience. Like,
well, hang on. Let me.
hang on, and then he freezes. So I'll keep going. The stuff with Agnes and William, go be successful and provide for your family. You're gone too much. Like, yeah, I've been there. There's a really funny meme that I've seen like on TikTok or Instagram or whatever, where when the girlfriend tells the boyfriend like why she cheated on him, with this other shiftless layabout, it's always well he was there for me when I needed him, and it's like the guy doesn't work. I'll bet he was. Sorry. Basically, it tragedy strikes this family in all kinds of ways. Like, Robert didn't mention it, but there's when she gives birth to the twins, the daughter is at first stillborn and then comes like back to life. Like, this woman takes a lot of punches over the years, not literally, but she takes a lot of hits. And Shakespeare, being a man in all of this, is just trying to do right by his family. And the bar, the chains keep moving, the bar keeps moving, and he's just like beside himself. And I think like the thing that really made it sad for me was her assumption that he doesn't care enough about his kid, and his assumption that she's a crazy bitch. And
yeah, there's definitely that.
And then they finally realize at the end of the movie, after she sees the play, that they both are grieving the loss of their son just in their own ways, but it is equal, it is shared, and and they find their way back to each other. There's a bittersweetness in that for me. I think it's why it affected me as much as it did. I want to say, before you were about to interrupt me, and then the internet had other ideas.
I was gonna say, like, I did in fact get quite emotional at the end of this. My like individual contestation about this being like the saddest movie ever is people forget the actual like punchline to that joke. Like, because the original joke about Tearjerker is he makes a movie about a mentally disabled kid with a cancer-riddled dog during the Holocaust. But the actual punchline is at the end when he's trying to escape. And he says, "I'm working on the sequel. It's 4 hours of a baby chimp trying to revive its dead mother." Like, that's the punchline there, not the indirect shot at Schindler's List. And to that extent, like, this is not the saddest movie I've ever seen. This is not the movie that's made me cry the hardest personally, but I was definitely affected by that entire finale because.
Okay, well then I take back my shot about you being a robot. Yeah, let's talk
about
your
son. I appreciate it.
So you got to understand, this mother is not like a metropolitan woman.
Yeah.
You know, she is happy to be barefoot in the fucking woods. So when she comes to the big city, it's like every movie you've ever seen where like where a kid or some sort of like uh, rural person or woodsy person comes to the city for the first time. And it's like an alien world. They don't know how anything works. She certainly doesn't know how fucking plays work. So she walks. So it's like she's ushered into this fucking theater, and people, and she sees what is supposed to be her son, and people react to him, and she's like, "Shut the fuck! I'll kill all of you!" Like this grieving woman is losing her goddamn mind, and everyone's like, "Shut up! It's cats." Like, leave it. It's cats. It's the Winter Garden Theater. What are you doing, lady? And she thinks it's like real cats that have escaped the zoo. That's the emotion of it. Like, she doesn't understand what her husband does or what he's doing. And so it's a lot for that character to take in all at once. And Jessie Buckley acts that. She acts the overwhelm. She acts the stranger in a strange land. She acts the overwhelming wave of grief that she now has and trauma that she now has to relive by seeing this play about, ostensibly about her son. And all of that comes out there, but also, like I said, there was so much in her performance, and it's beautiful. It's like, if I think I also said, and it's worth repeating, even if you don't like 2/3 of this movie, that last third is worth it.
Oh yeah.
Everything that happened in the Globe
$1,000,000%.
Theater is worth the ride. So
In no small part because this is actually an appropriately edited and timed out film. It doesn't overstay its welcome.
The cinematography is beautiful. It's a very nice place they shot this in. The acting is top notch. The costumes are top notch.
Nice to know Paul Mescal can actually act after the atrocity that was Gladiator 2.
It's like you one for yourself and one for the business. So like you take the big budget movies because they pay well, but then you got to do a Hamnet or a Marty Supreme or something. I would say it's also a very quiet movie. There's not a lot of score here. They really do let the actors and the ambiance like fill up the screen, and fill up your senses. So, Hamnet is a beautiful movie. Again, just because your stupid Marvel movie isn't as good as you want it to be doesn't mean there's bad movies out there. Watch Hamnet. If you're an adult, watch Hamnet. If you have any love of feature films, watch Hamnet. There's no reason not to. My 15-year-old and my 12-year-old got through it. You can do it. I have faith.
It did almost drive your 12-year-old into the woods to live deliberately.
I'm telling you, man, we were both like inconsolable at the end. My son just like, he's like, later, faggots, I'm gonna go pee, and it just like walks away. But yeah, like it fucking devastated Lily. Like she had a rough time with it. And I think,
well,
I remember what she said when it was over. For her, it spoke to the bond between brother and sister. And her takeaway from the movie was, I certainly do hope that we'll always be close, and nothing's going to happen. And then my son said something insensitive, and she was like, maybe then it would be better if we were not as close.
Let me rethink that a little bit.
Yeah. Your thoughts?
Jessie Buckley should probably win the Oscar for this one.
There's no probably about it. I can't think of a better
yeah, like I'm sitting here going, like, was there any woman who did a better acting job all year than this? And I can't think of one. Yeah, it's very well shot. It gets all of the interpersonal dynamics and relationship stuff right. Like there's care and there's love and there's friction and there's strife and there's all of it. It's extremely human.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't look away from the harshness, and it doesn't look away from the good stuff too. And that's the important thing about when you tell a very, very human story like this. Like you have to be strong enough as a writer and a director and brave enough to just show the full breadth of the human experience to the extent that you can. And you can't be like weighed down with, fear of how this is going to be received. You have to just trust the audience and trust the strength of what you overall craft and just put it out there. And that's what this movie does tremendously well. There's not a bad acting job to be found necessarily. Again, Jesse Buckley is just the standout, but like you said, Paul Mescal's very good. Everyone does a good job. Everything is, I mean, there's a long-standing, a certain, I don't know, long-standing might be a bit of a, certainly a long-standing recent tradition of looking at modern films and going, boy, everything looks like crap because because you can't light anything because everything is done CGI'd. So everything is shot on a green screen or on a volume, and your lighting is just everything looks the same all the way around because you're not sure what you're going to put where when it's all said and done. And this movie has a nice antidote to that. There's so many scenes that are like interior, and the only light source is coming through the window.
Yeah, it has an haunting atmosphere to it.
Yeah, it's really, really good. It has a really, really excellent score to go along with that. Again, what we get for the entire finale at the theater is just perfect. It's just chef's kiss. Like there's nothing, no notes, just great.
Mm-hmm.
This was, again, gun to my head for me. If I were to like, what do I think is going to win the Oscar? Personally, it would be between this and Frankenstein. Realistically, they're gonna do one battle after another, and I'm just gonna laugh at them for continuing to shoot their credibility in the foot because at least two of the movies we've talked about tonight are head and shoulders better than one battle after another.
One battle after another did not make a single like list between the three of us. And like I kick Alexis for always making the dummy list, but but that's just the thing is I think dummies artificially inflate how good one battle after another is.
It is, loath as I am to use the term, it is the perfect midwit film.
And even the midwit amongst us didn't put it on her list. Now, granted, she hadn't seen it yet, but I think I know Alexis pretty well, and I still don't see it ending up on her list.
She'd object to the fetishistic framing of the black female characters more than we did.
But dude, Alexis, Neil, I can't remember his name. Neil from Movies That Don't Suck and Some That Do. By the way, there was a point at which he put, I think, Thunderbolts on his best of his 10 best. Like I think it was like Thunderbolts and Superman were both on, and Fantastic Four, all three of them were on there. And I was like willing to fucking trade Alexis for Chris. I will. Which, by the way, when we reviewed the other hilarious thing about that, when we reviewed One Battle After Another, he apparently was watching live and he wanted to come on the show and just yell at us both, and which would have gone poorly for him. But my point is,
extremely. I imagine he couldn't fully articulate the point.
It wasn't on Neil's list. It wasn't on Alexis's. When you've lost the people who think Thunderbolts, or Superman is the number three movie of the year, then the only people that are left are the ones that they're not judging one battle after another based on. They're not judging one battle after another based on craft. They want the idea of it to win.
Yeah.
And then we're not talking about a movie craft award anymore. We're talking about a political award.
Mark Ruffalo couldn't vote for that thing enough. That pawns.
To it, like if you wanted to give One Battle After Another the Nobel Peace Prize, that prize has already been fucking desecrated. It's a worthless prize to begin with. Give it that. But does it move the best made movie of the year? No, because it's not.
Not even close.
So, well, folks, for those of you who have ever heard Mark and Robert do Damn You Hollywood and go, do you guys like anything? That's why we do this. That's why we did this. The Nomadland show, Substance. Why we talk about the better made movies of the year, because there is stuff out there that we actually like that is made well, and we will talk positively about.
Believe me, to the point that Little Platoon was raising again, we would be better off, not just you and me personally and individually, but all of us would be better off if stuff like Star Wars and the MCU,
Echo Chamberlain, not Little Platoon.
Oh, Echo Chamberlain, sorry. Yeah, we would all be better off if those were better. I mean this with all sincerity. Like, if those were better made, more carefully crafted, more thoughtful, less screechy, everything would be better off because of it. I wish, big blockbuster movies could be made with thought and care and attention to detail and all that stuff. Again, like
Mhm.
I remember a few years ago, like when I was ahead of the curve once again about my just like lamentations about the state of the movie business. And you asked me like, what do you miss in the movies? Like what would you want to see more of? And I responded with Raiders of the Lost Ark, and you said, "Oh, so pulpy adventure." Yes, but sort of. That's a blockbuster movie that is exceptionally well made. It's not for idiots. It's not, it doesn't exclude idiots and children, but it's not for idiots and children. And modern movies, the big ones, are mostly for idiots and children. That's my objection.
So I've been watching the Texans Steelers game tonight, and they showed a commercial for Wonder Man because it's on ESPN. And I was watching it with the sound off, so I didn't hear any of the dialogue or anything in the
All
trailer.
you have
But
to do is see Yahya Abdul-Mateen III as Wonder Man.
well, again, I was more thinking about like I like Wonder Man the character, and I've been away long enough from the Marvel TV shows that because I didn't watch Agatha all along. I didn't watch Ironheart. I think the last thing I watched was Daredevil. Didn't watch Secret Invasion. And I was like, okay, well, I've been away long enough that my antipathy for this stuff is somewhat subsided. My disinterest is high, but I like the Wonder Man character, and that actor doesn't bother me seemingly the way that he bothers you. And I thought
He's
about for a
not a
second.
bad actor. I think he's miscast.
I think about like, should I give this a shot? And then I went, no. The big thrill of watching the Marvel TV shows was the interconnectedness to the movies, and they're not interconnected anymore.
Here's my other major gripe about this Wonder Man adaptation.
Mm-hmm.
I apologize. I'm going to get into racial stuff because you've once again race swapped a character. Now, you might be saying to me, but Robert, it's insensitive of you to say that you shouldn't race swap characters. Guys, they just announced that they can't make Blade work. They won't give you Blade. They won't give you an honest to goodness, soup to nuts, black superhero whose whole thing is killing vampires and looking cool while doing it. They won't give you that. They'll race swap Wonder Man. That's how little they think of you. That's my gripe with it. For some reason, these morons can't make Blade work, which is so mind-blowing to me. You can't make Blade work. Somehow. This is too difficult for you. A 90-minute movie with Mahershala Ali killing vampires is somehow beyond your capabilities. Why? In what universe is this complicated or difficult? You could do this, Mark. You and I could do this. It's just let the guy look cool killing vampires. But we can't do it because why? Well, we tried to make it about Blade's daughter. That didn't work out. And we tried to make it about this Indian chick, and that didn't work out. And we can't. You see how little they actually care about these things they're engaging in performative bullshit about? That's my problem with it. And if you're doing nothing but engaging in performative BS, how in the world can I trust your product to be anything other than bullshit?
Yeah. So no, I probably won't be watching Wonder Man.
No one should watch it.
Well, so the next two Marvel movies, and then we'll end here. We have Spider-Man, which seems to include the Hulk and the Punisher, and probably Daredevil. And then you have Doomsday, which involves the X-Men,
Everyone.
the Fantastic Four, and what's left of the Marvel Universe.
Hey, look, we get to watch Patrick Stewart die as Professor X for the 4th time.
So everything that is even remotely cool about Marvel movies is going to be in those two movies. Nothing that is remotely cool about Marvel is going to be on Disney Plus. Why would I watch?
Yeah.
The thing with the Disney Plus shows when we came out of Endgame was they were supposed
WandaVision.
Thank you. WandaVision was supposed to lead to Doctor Strange, except that the pandemic fucked everything up. Production issues fucked everything up. Changing things, not committing to certain ideas, fucked everything up. So you, instead of getting a direct WandaVision ends on April 29th, Doctor Strange comes out May 1st. You've got this great lead in now into this other thing. Ms. Marvel, hang on, Ms. Marvel ends here. The Marvels comes out there. Everything kind of builds and builds. We do it on television and then we can see it on the big screen. And that all got fucked up. And then never mind the fact that none of it's anything anyone wanted and it was all poorly written. But never mind any of that. They give you 2 seasons of Loki so that we can get to the Kang Dynasty, and then the Kang Dynasty became Doomsday because domestic
Reasons.
Violence. Yeah. So it's like at this point, everything that was a hook to watch anything on Disney Plus is gone, long gone, and that is before you even start to think about quality.
That's very true.
So that's why I watch Bugonia, Marty Supreme, and Hamnet, tying it all back together, because I'm utterly hysterically disinterested.
Well, let me just
what's going on in popular IP.
Let me also, again, to the Echo Chamberlain point.
Mm-hmm.
When all you can do, when the only good stuff out there is stuff like this that you have to scratch, claw, and dig your way to find.
Yeah, by the way, how was your movie-going experience to find these? And I'm not picking at you. I'm genuinely curious because I live in Tampa. All of the indie pictures are 5 minutes from my house. They may be at midnight, but they're there. Robert lives.
This wasn't fun. This wasn't hard.
Robert lives at the base of a volcano in Utah.
There are no volcanoes in Utah.
Far from civilization. There's only Robert and the Utah Jazz. So getting to an independent theater to find these movies is sometimes difficult for Robert. So I don't actually have to.
I don't have to find an independent theater. These were available at my local Cinemark.
Yes, you're no fun. Anyway,
but it took a little. Hamnet is about done with its theatrical run, so that took a little bit of having to finagle. But Marty Supreme was not hard.
Did you have to drive past where you normally go to, or they were both? It was just the times were unwieldy.
Mostly the times. Yeah, locations were not much of a problem. There's other, for the record. The reason this comes up is every now and then one of these comes up that Mark is like, hey, let's review this.
The Last Showgirl.
So The Last Showgirl, for example. And I went, okay, I'm not opposed to that. And I then look up, where's The Last Showgirl? And when my nearest showing for The Last Showgirl is a 50-minute one-way drive, sorry, man, I'm not that committed to a free endeavor like this. Like, I'll do 30 minutes one way. That's about my cap on this for driving.
And both Marty Supreme and Hamnet were available
within that.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm glad this didn't drive you nuts.
No.
I was almost afraid we were going to have to drop those two, and this was going to be a Damn You Hollywood on Bugonia, which I did not want to do. Given how long we talked about it.
I told you I would figure that out, and I am good to my word.
That's why you're still here, and I didn't tell you I don't care if I've alienated you or not. And with that said, that's why you're still here, Judy Greer. That's why you're here.
Oh, God.
So,
of all the people you could have just referenced.
So with that said, that is our triple feature for this evening. Yesterday, myself and Jesse had just a marvelous time talking about White House Plumbers, which was...
I might have to look that up since you've put it over.
Which was about G. Gordon Liddy and Howard Hunt and the dirty tricks they pulled, not the least of which was the Watergate Hotel break-in during the DNC convention during the Nixon administration, which torched his presidency. The
supreme irony, for those of you who don't know, the supreme irony of Watergate is that when you actually go back through the presidential files, it's not even in the top 10 craziest illegal things that a United States president has done. It doesn't even rate.
Tomorrow, Jesse and Alexis are going to review Stranger Things Season 5. Wednesday, myself, Jesse, and Gavin are going to review Sports Night Season 1. I'm starting to take on Robert's hatred of Aaron Sorkin.
Once again, Mark, hi, been here for a minute. Got things ready for you.
Yeah, I know. And then on Thursday, we start Black History Month early here on the Rattlegion Broadcasting Network. A movie
Mark and Jason review Roots.
close. I watched this with my kids. I had just a gasp of time. It's one of my favorite movies. It really is. Like, we talk about like top 5, top 10. It's not that high, but it is like within my top 20 favorite movies of all time. Despite its problems, and it is problematic in places, I love Bamboozled. I think Spike Lee's Bamboozled. It is. I'm not asking you to enjoy it. Red fucking Fox. I love black folks. I love Bamboozled.
I don't think I've ever enjoyed a Spike Lee movie.
Yeah, so you don't get to talk. I think Bamboozled is fucking fantastic. It's one of my favorites. I wanted to do it when we looked at Spike Lee. I wanted to pair it with Malcolm X and Do the Right Thing. But Jason had to fucking, throw a tantrum and be like, well, I want to pick a movie. I'm the most prettiest girl. And I went, you are, Jason. You are a pretty girl. So you pick the third Spike Lee movie. And I'm thinking he's going to pick like Jungle Fever or something like that, or maybe, later on he'll pick He Got Game. That was last year when we did all basketball movies. Yeah, he goes with Old Boy.
Spike Lee's Old Boy is an abomination that should never have been allowed to exist.
Yeah, blame Jason. Anyway, that's why I didn't get to do Bamboozled that year. So this is...
You'll have more fun with it this time.
Well, yeah, now we can dedicate the time that I want to Bamboozled. I just think it's a marvelous movie. My daughter fell asleep on it, but my son enjoyed it. And now we all want to refer to each other as Big Black, or our full names, Big Black Africa. That is the moniker Mos Def takes in the movie. He was like, he called like Julius or something like that. Like whatever Julius. It's like, that's not my name. That's my slave name. My real name is Big Black Africa. And my son like fucking snorts. He's like, pfft. It's great. So that's Thursday. Next week.
Surprised you didn't say my full name is my real name is Kamala.
Yeah.
The Ugandan giant.
On Sunday, myself and Jesse will be doing an on-trial civil court edition. We'll be looking at the 1989 War of the Roses and comparing it to the 2025 The Roses, because I wanted to get that in before too long.
That is an interesting compare and contrast.
Yeah. And then our first actual, like, real-life, in-theater, damn you, Hollywood of the year is 28 years later, The Bone Temple. So that's what we'll be doing a week from tonight. Next Tuesday is Alexis will be doing Welcome to Derry. And then Thursday, the Oscar nominations will come out, and we'll solidify any other shows that we have to do if we haven't already gotten to them.
I swear they're going to pick at least 5 things we haven't seen just to screw with us.
Yeah, really. They're all Portuguese. But however, a week from Thursday, Triple Feature is back. This time it's myself and Shay, and we're doing our monthly look at musicals. We are looking at Rock of Ages, Tommy, and Jesus Christ Superstar from 1973. Robert, I hear you paint houses.
No. I cover mixed martial arts and professional wrestling over on 411mania.com, WWE SmackDown on Fridays. Actually, is it this Saturday? Hang on.
Isn't the year? Yeah. Hang on, I gotta pee. Just finish what you're doing.
Okay, this Saturday I will be covering TNA's Genesis pay-per-view, their first one in January, because somebody has to. So I will be covering that. Mostly because there's no UFC events until the 24th. Then they'll start doing more regularly. But until then, I'm stuck mostly with I will be covering the TNA event on Saturday. So tune in for that. And again, WWE SmackDown's on Fridays, where things are iffy. Things are iffy these days. So stop on by. We'll see what's up. They just did the big title change in the dumbest way possible. And we'll see what creative has kind of going into the Royal Rumble, because it's about Rumble time, and that's usually a popular event. And this year they're hosting it in Saudi Arabia in a brand new venue that hasn't been built yet. So the Saudi slave labor needs to definitely get cranked up a notch or two. Because, boy, that's going to be. That's going to be a thing. So, yeah, that's what I've got going on. Award season's, up and running, so be on the lookout for all of our other stuff. And yeah, that's what I've got to plug. So yeah, TNA Genesis on Saturday because I have boundary issues.
Oh,
Dude,
Red Fox.
it's TNA in 2026. Like,
Well, at least you get paid for it.
it's true.
So,
And the MMA podcast, which has been on hiatus for a little bit, will probably come back this next week because I will have to preview the new UFC event. It is going to be exclusive to YouTube because the audio only component is going away. I don't make decisions on that level. So we'll see if
was
can
it your
see
decision
more-
to even keep it in video form, or do you just not want to stop doing it?
I don't want to stop doing it mostly.
Okay.
So if I want to keep doing it, I don't need to record myself, but it does need to go just to the YouTube channel. So,
Mm-hmm.
and if I'm doing that, then I can't just load an MP3 file. I have to actually load an MP4. And if I'm going to record, I can set up a still image to talk over if I want to, or I can use my pretty face. And my pretty face is on the internet enough that I may do that. So we'll see.
Cool.
And I've yet to fully decide one way or another how I want to handle that. But
All right.
be on the lookout for that. It'll be sometime in the upcoming little bit of future. I might even go live again with it if I feel like it, because I can at that point. I can just do YouTube lives, and we'll see how that goes. Open myself up to more abuse. Thumbs up. Yeah, because the UFC kicks off with UFC numbered event first of the Paramount era on January 24th, and then an immediately numbered event after that on the 31st.
You know what you could do? You could just do TikTok lives, and then you can download your live and upload it to YouTube.
Yeah, but then I'd have to put TikTok Studio on either my PC, and I don't want to do that.
Okay.
I don't trust that. I don't trust that software.
Okay. I'm really not twisting your arm. I was throwing another idea out there.
I appreciate that.
All right. I would like to go watch some more episodes of Sports Night before Wednesday.
No, you wouldn't, but you have to.
Fair. All right. Also, because I'm tired of coughing. So for Robert, I'm Sir Hacks a lot. Be well, be safe, and behave.